Hello and welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Ashley, and today I want to focus on making some snacks. These are snacks I often make for my family. This way they have some healthier options to pick throughout the week, and they're not eating so many prepackaged snacks. Starting out with cranberry orange muffins. I usually make muffins once a week. This is my first time making cranberry orange muffins, and they were actually a big hit. My family loved them. I wasn't sure how my kids would like them. They thought the cranberries were a little tart, but they still really enjoyed them and asked to have them again. The reason I chose cranberry orange muffins is because I have a bunch of these in the freezer that I have to use up. I purchased a bunch of them to make cranberry sauce over the holidays, and postpartum hit pretty hard, so that did not happen. Finally getting back in the swing of things, but I no longer want to make cranberry sauce because we only need that on the holidays, so I'll just make that next year. I have the recipe I am using printed out that I am looking at for reference over here, and I'm trying to be a little more organized, so I started printing out some of my recipes because I find myself having like 85 tabs open and I can never find the recipe that I was looking for, that I was planning on making, and then I gotta find a whole new recipe, so I'm trying to be a little more organized this year. Now back to the recipe. You're going to want to preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. And we are going to take 3/4 of a cup of granulated sugar, as you see I already did, and 1/4 cup of avocado oil or vegetable oil. Mix that on medium-high speed for 2 minutes, and now we're going to add our eggs one at a time. You'll need 2 large eggs, and we are going to mix this until combined for each one. About 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Mix until incorporated, and then it is optional to add this orange zest, but I think this brings a lovely flavor to this recipe, so I'm going to include it. My kids love to snack on mandarin oranges, so that's all I had, and I just used that, and it worked perfectly fine. Mix that in, and now we're going to go in with 1/2 cup of sour cream. I don't find the need to dirty another dish for my dry ingredients, so I just add them in straight into the mixer. You're going to add 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour, or 269 grams. 1½ teaspoons of baking powder. I'm using a 1/2 teaspoon measure here, so I'm going to add 3 of these. 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, and then 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. I'm using a 1/4 teaspoon here, so I'm going to do 3 of these. And since I don't mix these separately in a bowl, I'm just going to mix them with my teaspoon a little bit to get them a little more incorporated, because we are going to just lightly mix this together. We don't want to over mix it. We're just mixing until it's incorporated. Now that my batter is all prepped, I'm going to get my cranberries ready. So I wash my cranberries and drain them, and if you'd like, the recipe says that you can cut the larger ones in half. I did not do this. I skipped this step, and I found it was just fine. I'm just giving this a little mix to make sure that everything is scraped off the side and mixed in lightly. Take your cranberries, and I'm going to put these in a different bowl to make it a little easier for mixing. First I thought I was going to do half at a time, but they all ended up fitting pretty well in here. So you're going to take 2 tablespoons of sugar and pour it over the top of this and mix it in until it's incorporated. I have a 1/2 tablespoon here, so I'm just doing 4 of these. Now I imagine that this just helps cut back some of that tartness. We are heading towards the end of January now, and I can't help but think all things garden. And if you are into that and you'd like to come along with us for this year's journey, then please consider subscribing. Spring garden planning is my favorite, and this year should be good. Now it's time to gently fold our cranberries into the mix. I'm not worried about getting all the extra sugar off the bottom. I can already tell that these cranberry muffins are going to look absolutely beautiful. I love this shade of red. We just harvested our first little batch of spinach from the hydroponic garden, and that has me super excited for this year's garden. I have nothing to show for that because my children just ate them raw right away. Now at this point your oven should be preheated, so I'm going to line my muffin tin here with our cupcake liners. I used to use the colorful muffin liners for my kids, and then last time I made muffins with them it bled through, and I'm not going to be using those again because that's just not appetizing to me. I try to avoid food dyes as much as possible, so that's actually why I'm making these snacks to begin with. And one of my daughters has a intolerance to yellow dye number 5, so we've always tried to avoid food dyes because that's in most prepackaged stuff anyways. Speaking of dyes, Valentine's Day is coming up, and I still want to make my family the cute little pink and red Valentine's Day treats, and I'm going to be looking for natural ways to do this. Like, the biggest thing I want to be using is freeze-dried strawberry powder, and I don't have a freeze dryer, so I'm just going to order some freeze-dried strawberries and just crush them up myself in a blender for powder. I would absolutely love to have a freeze dryer, so maybe one day, but it's just not in the budget right now. There's also dye-free sprinkles and naturally colored food coloring that you could also use, and I think freeze-dried strawberries would be perfect in this recipe actually, because you can just mix that into the batter and have a nice pink and red muffin. I might actually do that for Valentine's Day because that sounds really cute and delicious, and it would add a lovely flavor boost. After you get all of your muffins scooped out into the liners, you can add a coarse sugar. I believe they call it a sparkling sugar. If you'd like, I chose to skip this step because we don't really like sugar on top of the muffins. I find they're already sweet enough, and we don't prefer that. But please make this how your family would like it. Next time I make this, I will double or triple the recipe because that's how I prefer to do things, but I did want to try this recipe first to make sure my family will actually eat it. And then I usually make a double batch of muffins because they're so easy to just throw in the freezer, and then the kids can just pull them out if they want them, or I'll pull them out for them and thaw them in advance. I usually keep them on the countertop for a day or two in a Ziploc bag, and then whatever doesn't get eaten, I'll just put in the freezer. Most of the time they all get eaten. Sometimes I have extra, and I'm happy to be able to freeze them and save them for when the kids want them again. Which is also a great way to slowly stock up on freezer meals or freezer snacks. Our muffins are now ready for the oven, so we are going to place this in our oven at 350 degrees, or 375 degrees Fahrenheit, and these are going to cook for about 18 minutes. While we're waiting on those, I'm going to clean up my kitchen, clean up the mess I just made. I'm just going to poke this little stick in here. This is actually a reusable cake pop stick. I like to use those as coffee stirrers as well. And I'm just going to poke that in there and see if they're done. If no batter comes up, then that means they're done. And they are ready to come out of the oven. I just love the pop of red that these cranberries bring. I let these cool for about 5 minutes so I don't burn my hands too bad. And I'm going to come in here with a fork. I find this is a lot easier to get them out when they're hot, so this way I'm not fully burning my hand. I think these might be my personal favorite muffin. Now we are going to give this a try. And the cranberries are perfectly mixed throughout. Now moving on to the next recipe, my kids really love a smoothie. So we are going to take a banana that I froze. Bananas freeze perfectly if you want them for baking recipes or just smoothies. I love to freeze them when they're ripe and then thaw them in the fridge overnight and use them for banana bread. They obviously would not be good for fresh eating after freezing them because they would be mushy. For smoothies, I just keep them frozen. And we are also adding some wild blueberries that we foraged and some wild blackberries from our property, which makes me feel even better about the smoothie. And I'm going to add some vanilla yogurt. It's a vanilla banana yogurt. Just use whatever you have. I don't have a specific yogurt that I like to use. It doesn't matter, you could just use plain Greek yogurt if you'd like. I add like half a cup to 3/4 of a cup of the yogurt. And now I'm going to come in with some coconut water. I use coconut water, coconut milk, whatever, apple juice, whatever you like, or whatever you have on hand. I'm going to come up like 2/3 of the way up with the liquid on this smoothie. And I also have an avocado here, and we are going to, I just thawed this underneath the water because I do freeze some avocados. I like to use these for baby food or smoothies, so I just ran this under some hot water on the peel side for like maybe 20 seconds and then dried it off. I'm going to throw this in there. This was just so the peel can come off nice and easy. And while I'm at it, I'm just going to take one of these frozen avocados and place it in the fridge for my baby to eat with dinner tonight. I'm going to wrap up all my stuff here and clean up my area, putting away the frozen produce so it does not thaw. Now you can make these smoothies however you or your family likes. I'm going to start having to make some like peaches and cream smoothies because I have peaches in the freezer from the last time we canned peaches together, and that was probably about 1.5 years ago, and they are coming up on their time. So we're going to be seeing a lot of peaches. If you have any creative peach recipes that you can share with me or just any ideas, because I don't usually cook with peaches too often, so it'd be really nice if you could share this with me, and I would greatly appreciate that. While I have all this stuff out, I'm going to make my youngest breakfast here. She's going to have some of this vanilla yogurt, and I'm just going to mix some of this smoothie in with it when it's done. I like to give it a good shake to make sure everything's all mixed in properly. And this smoothie was absolutely delicious. I make this one often. The avocado gives it a nice smoothness, creaminess, and you do not even taste it in there. We are not a family that likes avocados, and my kids knew it was in here. They drank it. They did not care at all, and they did not taste it at all. So I'm going to divvy this up between my 3 oldest by how much they are actually going to drink. And they drank every last drop, which makes me happy. And my husband also wanted one, so I made him one right after this. I didn't show it because I literally made him the same exact one, and he loved it as well. I find all these recipes to be good options for everyone in the family. or if you just want to enjoy them for yourself. Now moving on to another family favorite here, we have hard-boiled eggs. Now, my kids love to just snack on these, just plain hard-boiled eggs, and me and my husband enjoy a egg salad sandwich, so does the rest of my family. I don't know if you noticed in this video, but I feel like there's always orange peels on my table. Doesn't matter how many times a day I clean them up, there always seems to be another one peeled. So don't mind the orange peels, they will get tidied up in just a minute. Now usually I make these hard-boiled eggs in a Dutch oven when I make them, and just like boil them normally, but I wanted to test it out in the Instant Pot because they say that it peels very easily in the Instant Pot, and I find that to be true. After I tested this, I only did 9 in this batch because I was nervous about stacking them on top of each other. We were just going to put this in the Instant Pot on high pressure for 5 minutes. We're going to do the 5-5-5 recipe, and they come out absolutely perfect. Now the recipe I'm using says that you can add as little as 1 egg or up to 16 eggs per in a 6-quart pressure cooker. Mine is, I believe, like 7 or 8 quarts. And I put this in with 1 cup of cold water. You want to make sure it's cold water because it can affect the cooking times. You're going to place your eggs on your steam rack, and you're going to cook these on high pressure for 5 minutes, like I said, and then you're going to do a natural release for 5 minutes, and then you will do a quick release after that. Once all the pressure is released and the pin drops, then you're going to want to take off your lid and start carefully taking out your eggs. If you notice here, only one of my eggs cracked, and it says that you can avoid that by putting your eggs in at room temperature. Mine were straight out of the fridge, so they were not room temperature, and I'm okay with one of them cracking because we ended up just trying that one, and we ate most of these right away anyways. You can store these in the fridge for up to 7 days if you do not crack them, and if you do peel them, then they're good for within like 3 days. You're going to want these eggs to sit in a water bath for at least 5 minutes. These end up being so easy to peel, so I'm just always going to make these in the Instant Pot. They were super easy to cook too. I didn't have to worry about overcooking them. I just set the time and they just went. I'm definitely going to try making the 16 eggs or so in the Instant Pot next time though, because these go super fast in my house. The perfect hard-boiled egg, and I love to add a little salt on top. I just dumped out the water here. I'm going to put on the lid, and we are just going to store these in the fridge. Now I'm sure everybody does this, but I just love to prep ahead some fruit for at least a few days. These grapes, they're going to take like 2 days to go through for my family. I'm going to cut them up as we eat them because I don't know how well they'll store when they're pre-cut. And I am one of those parents that are paranoid of my children choking on grapes, so I will forever cut their grapes. And so I'm just going to take these off the stem and wash them, and these are just going to make it so it just seems so much easier for me to just feed these to my kids. After this, I also prep some blueberries, and we have oranges and apples and bananas for the kids to snack on as they please as well. The separate container is just going to be for my husband to take with him as a snack while he goes out plowing with his lunch and dinner. And that is all for today. Have a blessed day.